All right, let me hear it. Let me hear it. We did it. We did it. Eric Arnold here in the Politics Barn. Oh, it is the 12th of November. The election is over here in the wee hours of the morning on Tuesday. It's been a week, and we've done it. We have done it. Donald Trump is now the 47th, president-elect. Republicans take the Senate. Republicans, now I believe it is official, will hold the House. It couldn't have gone any better, could it? I mean, it's basically our wildest dreams, or at least that which was possible to achieve. And we did it. For my own prognostications, pretty much right on. As I said earlier, any more of these elections take place over a month. It's like no longer election day, it's election month. Some states do all their voting before election day, like Nevada and North Carolina. So simply by looking at that data, you can kind of get an idea of what's going to happen. And, through that, I was able to pretty well predict what was going to happen. The only thing that kept me from being more definitive in my prediction, I live in Philadelphia, or the area of the Philadelphia sports market. And we've seen our Philadelphia sports teams disappoint and come up short time and time again. Sure victory, slipping through our fingers. So, that somewhat sours us, makes us negative. Maybe you've heard the legend of the negative Philadelphia sports fan. But the numbers were the numbers, and basically that's what it came down to. I just feel relief. I feel drained. I mean, really, what we watched culminate last Tuesday was, I guess, the biggest political battle of our lifetimes to date. Probably there'll be larger ones to come, unfortunately. But this was a big one. Let's not undersell it. This was a big one. We lose this one. Donald Trump gets put in jail for the rest of his natural life. We undergo just continual lawfare. The leaders of the Trump movement would have been under unending, unceasing attack, which would either bankrupt them, imprison them, or both, unless they were, say, like Elon Musk, who would be rich enough to basically make a deal, and he would take a definite hit financially, and would probably capitulate, frankly. I mean, when you're that rich, sort of at some point you just go, all right, this isn't worth it. And for the people that hate Donald Trump, I still go back to the fact that he didn't have to do this. I mean, early on, when the deep state attacked this guy, when I think he was always going to run in this cycle. I think he was always going to stand for whatever you want to call it, re-election in the 24 race. But when they started raiding his home and indicting him, he could have made a deal. That deal was on the table. You'll never read about it, at least not for the next 30, 40 years after everybody's involved is dead. Then you might, the word of such might leak out. The deep state undoubtedly made offers to this guy. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we dropped all the charges and you just kind of quietly went away? But he wouldn't. He wouldn't do it. Now, some of us would say, well, we could have had Ron DeSantis, or we could have had, fill in the blank. Nobody would have done as well as Donald Trump did last Tuesday. Donald Trump pulled off, a minor miracle, really, politically speaking. He did better than any Republican standing for office going back to the Reagan era. George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, the first Bush number one, rode in on Reagan's coattails and scored a larger victory than Trump did. But it was a different time then, and Ronald Reagan was a what's the word I'm looking for? A great man. How about that? He was a great man. He was so popular that it was almost hard for H.W. not to be elected in this huge fashion. And then he promptly screwed it up because he ain't Ronald Reagan. So he screwed it up and got booted out of office in '92. No other Republican candidate would have been able to pull off this kind of victory. Plus, you got to remember that the lawfare was not, specific to Trump. They simply would have gone after whoever the Republican nominee was, and they would have tried to destroy that person. I'm certain of that. They want to tell you that, this is just because Donald Trump's, a monster. And we would have never done that. Bullshit. That's probably the biggest takeaway. I wish that, I'm drained at the moment. I'm happy. Believe me, I'm happy. But, I keep thinking that this was the biggest battle here in Pennsylvania since Gettysburg. And perhaps that's not a bad analogy, that, maybe this is the point where the good guys turn the tide and send the bad guys packing. And maybe this 2024 election is analogous to Gettysburg, both of which fought in the key state of Pennsylvania. So it was I don't want to say a landslide. He won the popular vote by 2 points maybe? That Gallup poll, remember that? Remember that episode where I told you about that Gallup poll, and I was struck by how predictive that thing was. And I thought, man, maybe we're in good shape here. I mean, this is saying he's going to win the popular vote. And if he wins that, he's definitely going to win the election. And it was almost spot on. I went through the numbers. In our little precinct where I count, I don't count the votes. A machine does that. I'm the traffic cop. I'm the one that checks people in, gives them the ballot, shows them how the machine works, and keeps the line moving. Very important. You got to keep the line moving, otherwise you got people waiting outside for 3 hours, and that's not good. That didn't happen in our little precinct because I'm a very efficient traffic cop. Here's your ballot. How's your mother? Hey, good to see you. All right, next. Move them in, move them out. That's what we did there in my little town. And we met our numbers. We did meet our numbers. I had said that the 20 cycle, our precinct was plus 336 for Trump. I thought we needed to best that by at least 20. The provisional ballots, of which we had a lot, haven't yet been counted. When it's all said and done, we're going to be up over probably 50 to the good. In other words, we beat that number by, I'm going to say, at least 50. So that is, and it wasn't just our little precinct. It was everywhere. You know where Donald Trump really cleaned up compared to the 20 cycle? The city of Reading, which you would say, if you know anything about politics, oh my God, he's going to get killed there. There are no Republicans in Reading. Well, that's true. But there are a lot of Democrats in Reading, Hispanic Democrats, who voted for Trump. Places where a Mitt Romney might have pulled, say, 15%, maybe 20%, Donald Trump was pulling 35 and 40% in some places, in some Reading precincts. He was cleaning up. People were not embarrassed to say in the city of Reading, I'm voting for Trump. Well, they would have said it in Spanish, and I don't know how to say that in Spanish, but they were voting for Trump. It was amazing. We still lost the city. Let's not get it twisted. But like I said, these are areas where Republicans are used to losing 4-1. Well, now we're only losing, say, 2-1, or not even better than that in some places, 3-2 in some places. That's a lot of votes that the other team isn't getting. So only Trump. The only place Trump, the new lines of party now are class. It's no longer race. It's pretty much, I think I saw an exit poll. And remember these exit polls, whenever you read these exit polls, remember they're being given to you by the same people that lied to you throughout the whole cycle, these networks and whatnot. So take them with a grain of salt. But that people making over 100,000 voted for Harris, people making under that voted for Trump. Well, I'm a traitor. I voted for Trump. So I'm a traitor to my class, I guess. Don't let the fact I'm in a barn fool you. I do own the barn, so there. But it was awesome. It was an awesome thing. Considering the forces that were arrayed against us, it was nothing short of a minor miracle. I mean, they had the media. They had, Elon Musk helped a lot. By him buying Twitter, now X, that was unbelievably helpful to us. That helped us get our message out, to make our argument. They would say it's misinformation. Anybody that ever uses the word misinformation is evil and lying to you. That's somebody that does not believe in free speech, particularly your free speech. What would you say if you're talking to somebody and you're in an argument and they said, all right, now I get to talk. Now it's my turn to talk. And then when they're done talking, you go, but no, only I get to talk. Do you want to be friends with that person? No, of course not. That's a person that has no respect for you, has no regard for you. Welcome to the modern Democrat Party. They don't want you to talk. They say you just simply spew misinformation, so you don't get to talk. What kind of un-American bullshit is that? But, perhaps that's something that the American people just said, yeah, no, we don't like this. I would love to say that the main reason that Donald Trump cleaned up like he did was because of this goddamn lawfare, this un-American, banana republic, Soviet-esque lawfare. Now, it probably wasn't. I think at some level, people did kind of have this feeling that, wow, they really hate this guy. Maybe I should do, he's never done anything bad to me. In fact, I kind of remember when he was president, and it really wasn't that bad. Maybe I should look twice at this guy. Maybe that happened. Most Americans simply don't follow the news as closely as you and I do. They just don't. So it probably was not the main reason that he won, but I wish it was. Just because I want that to be a thing of the past. I don't know how this nation can ever unite when the leaders of one party think it's okay to try to jail the leader of the opposition party. It's so evil. It's just beyond the pale. It is awful. But the leaders of the Democrat Party are not going to change. They're not going to wake up and have an epiphany and say, gee, if we had simply played fair, maybe we would have won. They're not going to do that. The only chance is that a new crop, perhaps, of Democrat leaders may emerge where they are more interested in saying, hey, let's get back to some American ideals here. This whole idea of we win and they never win, and we become a one-party state where we always win, sort of like, the old Soviet Union. That sounds pretty cool to us. Let's see if we can get some Democrat leaders to stop thinking like Joseph Stalin, who just wants power and doesn't care how he gets it. This idea that they're in office and they're never going to leave, they're never going to lose. Like I keep telling you, the rights of the minority. In other words, when you're in power, you can't do every last thing you want to do, because at some point, you're going to be out of power. And if you just kick the living shit out of the other team every chance you could, well, they're going to remember that, and what goes around comes around. So that's what I'm hoping there. There's no point in reaching out to the Democrat leadership. They're just evil. Those are bad, evil people. What I'm hoping is that in the next 2 years, we can connect with some of these people that voted against Donald Trump. There are a lot of gettable votes there. There really are. There's a lot of unification that can happen. Probably the best thing I would say to the person that voted for Harris and is sad because Trump won, it's like, just open up your eyes a little bit. Open up your ears. Stop getting your news exclusively from CNN and MSNBC and all the usual suspects. They're lying to you. They're lying to you. I don't understand that. In other words, when I discover somebody's lying to me, they're generally dead to me. At that point, it's like, all right, I mean, maybe they're fun to be around, but I'll never trust them. Maybe they're funny or what have you, but you never trust them at that point. And you keep them at arm's length. They certainly don't become part of the inner circle. Why? I just cannot figure out how Democrat voters just allow themselves to be lied to incessantly. I mean, here, I just thought of, and this is just off the top of my head, 4 obvious lies that were being told in the closing week of the election. Here, big and small. Here, we'll start with big. Remember how everyone told us that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack and there were no cognitive issues, he wasn't losing it, even though the dude would never speak to the media, he would never speak in public. The only time he'd ever talk is off a teleprompter, and even then he would, it was pretty obvious that he couldn't string 3 words together. It's like, this guy cannot possibly be running anything. And I've been telling you that for years leading up to that point. And then suddenly, the Democrat and their media allies decided, all right, now we got to get rid of this guy because he's losing. He's losing. So now suddenly we're going to tell the truth. And it was almost like, wait a minute, you're right, this guy has lost everything. He can't be possibly doing anything remotely like being president. And you guys lied to us. You told us he was sharp as a tack. You want me to believe this all just happened yesterday? No, you lied to us. But did anybody hold these people to account? Did they lose any credibility? I would like to think that perhaps some Democrat voters would go back and revisit that at some point and say, yeah, I mean, perhaps if they had been honest with us all along, we wouldn't have nominated this guy. We did have primaries. We had some guy, I think his name was Dean Phillips. He was like the only guy that stood out there and said, I'd like to be president. I don't care that he's president. I mean, he's not qualified. Look at him. I could do the job much better than that guy. No one listened to him. The media wouldn't even give him a time of day. They wouldn't even acknowledge that he was there. It was hilarious. So maybe if the media had been just remotely fair, Democrats, you might not be in this position right now. You might have had an actual primary where an actual candidate could have stepped forth that could have beaten Donald Trump. But guess what? You stepped in it yourselves, so oops, they lied to you. They lied to you. That's a big one. Here's a couple small ones. This bit about a bloodbath. Remember, they keep talking. Donald Trump is saying there's going to be a bloodbath. A bloodbath. He didn't say anything of the sort. He was referring to an economic bloodbath with respect to the auto industry. He was talking about the auto industry, and he was saying if something out of this X, Y, and Z happens, there's going to be a bloodbath in the auto industry. Words to that effect. Everybody knew what he meant, and of course the Democrats lied. They went, oh, he's going to run around and shoot people, and it's going to be a bloodbath. Bullshit. Bullshit. They're lying to you. This bit about wanting to kill Liz Cheney, that he's going to stand her up in front of a firing squad. Donald Trump was making the argument that's been made by people that don't want war since at least Vietnam, probably before that, that politicians are quick to send other people's sons and daughters to go get killed in war. Maybe they wouldn't be so quick to do that if they themselves had to go and stand on the front lines. It was an obvious point he was making. Everyone knew it, and the Democrats just lied about it. Liz Cheney lied about it. She's a disgusting person. She is evil. They lied about it. It was obvious. And lastly, this one caused me probably 12 to 18 hours of angst. And this is kind of inside baseball lie that most people wouldn't see it initially. The weekend before the election, and I may have mentioned this in the previous episode, there's a pollster in Iowa who works, I think she is hooked up with the Des Moines Register. So she gets a lot of airtime every 4 years because Iowa is always the first caucus state. And she has a good reputation of being accurate. That when she puts her poll out for the primary for both parties, it's usually pretty close to accurate. And the media lauds her as, wow, the gold standard. She's awesome. She's always right on. Absolutely. The weekend before the election, she came out and said Harris was winning Iowa by 3 points. Iowa is red. It is not a competitive state. Trump, I believe, won it by 8 points in 20, probably by a little more than that in 16. It is not a close state. So she comes out and says Harris is winning by 3 points. This is an earthquake. Oh my God. What does this mean? Does this mean we're going to lose? I thought we were going to win. I mean, certainly all the votes that had already come in North Carolina and Nevada said we were going to win. But now here she's saying, well, no, all this Harris has this giant support that's hidden. And, you can trust me because I'm reputable. Nobody pushed back on her when she's interviewed by paid liars like David Axelrod. And he's a politician. He's a poli-sci guy. He knows. Rather than ask one critical question like, well, I don't know. This is just totally against any other data that's out there. How did you come up with this? Where are your crosstabs? How did you come up with this? This doesn't make sense. You need to explain this a little more. Nothing critical at all. They just threw it out there like, well, that's very interesting. I guess Donald Trump has to be worried. Donald Trump carried Iowa by 13 points. 13 points. So rather than him losing Iowa by 3 points, he won it by 13 points. That is not a mistake. This woman purposely threw that poll for whatever reason. Maybe she hates Trump. Maybe she was paid off. She lied. It was a lie. It was a lie sponsored by the Democrat Party. A lie. It wasn't close. 13 points he won Iowa by, not losing by 3. They lied. They're lying to you. My God. Yeah, Donald Trump exaggerates. Everyone knows that. Everything Donald Trump touches is, contrary to some people's belief, not the greatest, biggest, most hugest thing in the whole world. We all know that. We forgive him for it. All politicians exaggerate. Most just flat out lie. I think Donald Trump has been pretty straight, though, when it comes down to the basic points. I want to build a wall. I want to get control of this ridiculous illegal immigration. I'm going to punch holes in the ground and get some of our domestic energy flowing again. I intend to cut some taxes. I intend to reform the government. You know, these are things that he intends to do. And I think he's been pretty good at least attempting some of them, if not following through to completion, in that he's being fought every step of the way by the Democrats and half his own party. So what I would say to the Democrat voter is, my God, stop listening to people that are lying to you. Will you stop listening to the people that are lying to you? Seek out some alternative sources of information. Start thinking. Use your critical thinking skills. My God, he's a monster. I saw a piece in the Washington Post. They're tut-tutting that, okay, well now you're going to get it. I don't think you're going to like it. This is what Donald Trump intends to do. Mass deportations. I think most people that voted for Donald Trump, that's exactly what we want. That is exactly what we want. I don't think any reasonable person expects that you're going to be able to round up 20 million illegal people. You're just not. That's just a huge number. You don't have the number of the resources to do it. We'll settle for 5, round up 5 million and we'll be happy. What'll happen is 5 million, you kick them out, 10 will leave by themselves, then you secure the border, and then we can talk honestly, maybe, if we have new Democrat leadership, maybe we can talk honestly about the border issue. I'm so sick of hearing this bullshit. Every time you bring up the border issue, the Democrat Party, half of the Republican Party, I mean the old school Mitt Romneys and John McCain's, well, the border's broken. No, it isn't. You refuse to enforce the law. There's nothing at all broken about the border laws. You just refuse to enforce them. Hell, I think, what if I just say to the IRS guy, yeah, the tax laws are broken. I don't have to do that. I don't have to pay your taxes. The law is broken, so I therefore don't have to pay it. And then the IRS guy says, yeah, well, I'll bring a couple guys with guns here when I see you again, and you're going to pay or go to jail, one or the other, but you're going to pay. You're not going to get away with not paying because the law does apply to you, sir. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Well, they don't do that. They never bring guys with guns to enforce the law, ever, when it comes to the border. Never. But now we're kind of like, well, damn it, we want somebody to actually enforce this law. So if you don't like the law, Democrat voters, let's have an honest discussion about it. We couldn't even do that. Wide open borders. Kamala Harris wouldn't be honest about one damn thing that she intended to do. She just lied. She just tried to tell you, well, I'm for it, I'm against it, I'm up, I'm down. You have no idea what I'm going to do. She was in an impossible spot. I dislike Kamala Harris. I don't think she's an honest broker. I don't think she's very smart. I don't really have that level of dislike or hatred for her. Who I have it for is Joe Biden. That's a guy that skated out of the beating that he so richly deserved. Electoral beating, not a physical beating. But he is the one that should have stood there and taken the loss. It's his doing that has made this country such a mess that we brought Donald Trump back on our shoulders going, this is our guy. Because Joe Biden is such a lying scumbag. I mean, in a way, let's throw Obama in there too, because he's the one that's been pulling Biden's strings for at least the last 2 years, maybe longer. As I pointed out, Biden's not in charge of anything. His wife and Obama have been controlling what's been going on in this country. But yeah, Biden, what a disgusting man that person is. Oh my God. So he's gone now, thank God. But yeah, I'm happy, I just think that this lawfare stuff, let's just remember who these people are as we go forward. And is the lawfare over? I don't know. It was a pretty resounding verdict by the American people. I don't think they're going to try anything between now and the inauguration, other than hoping that he's going to get shot at again. They are hoping that another assassination attempt, or they're actively organizing it. Who knows? I mean, I still maintain that why do we not know one thing about, what was that kid's name, Thomas Crooks? Why do we not know one thing about him? We still don't. We still don't. That to me that tells you all you need to know right there. In other words, if this guy was really a lone wolf and had no help and had nobody pushing him, then why do we not know anything about him? Why has this been buried? Well, because he was being run by somebody. He was being controlled by somebody. And they don't want us to know it. I'm hoping that Donald Trump is going to dump that out to us. There's so much stuff that Donald Trump could get into now. I mean, and I don't think for a moment that he's going to just have tribunals or indict, wholesale indictments of the Democrat leadership. On some level, I would like to see it. But on the other, it's bad politics. It's just bad politics. I think what he's going to end up doing is probably pardoning the Bidens and just say, all right, you get a pass for anything you guys have done. The son, Hunter, he's already, been convicted, and he's under indictment for tax, and just go away. Just go away. Will you please just go away? Take your pardons and just go away. And I think that's what's going to happen. Try to, start anew. But, yeah, I think a lot of the things he can dig into, if he's smart, I think he can use it for leverage. That, in other words, hey, maybe we should dig into that 2020 election. Now that I have 4 years to go ahead and investigate with my Justice Department, you guys have been telling the world that I've been lying for 4 years about how I didn't win in 2020. I'll tell you what I think. After the margin of victory in 24 that we just witnessed, where did those 81 million votes go? Where did they go? 10 million votes Kamala Harris is short. I mean, I'm certain that some of those people stayed home just out of distaste for what had gone on in the past 4 years of Democrat rule, that some of these inner city Democrat voters just said, this is not for me. They didn't go as far to vote for Trump, perhaps. They just stayed home. But I'm sure some of those votes are fraudulent. In other words, there weren't 81 million votes, and we all know it. We all know it. So, maybe Donald Trump says, hey, maybe we'll, let's have a commission. Let's dig into this. Yeah, and really, I think all you'd have to do is just go into some of these places like Fulton County or Philadelphia County and say, let me see the records from 4 years ago. And they go, well, we burned all that. Oh, okay. Well, failing to retain documents, failing to retain, oh, that's felony. Oh, these are felonies now suddenly. So you burned the documents? Well, why would you do that? So I think he might have some leverage there. So, what do you do with that leverage? Wouldn't it be cool if somehow we ended up with like a voter ID law? If somehow we had a national voter ID law? That'd be pretty cool. I think that would be great. That's a heavy lift because the evil Democrat leadership don't want that because they can't cheat then. So they would fight that tooth and nail. But, that's why you got the leverage there to try to, hey, we could either have a big investigation and you can fight me tooth and nail on that, or maybe we'll have a voter ID law and you'll have to kick them something. We'll have to bribe them with something, maybe an extra spending package or a highway or two. I don't know. This is all guesswork and fanciful stuff. My real benchmark for the Trump administration coming up, just don't do anything. Just don't be a Democrat. Other than that, you can do anything. Don't just raise my taxes for no reason, regulate me for no reason, cut the speech off of even people I don't like. Don't try to cut the speech off of Democrats, particularly not Republicans. Just if you did what you did in the first term, I'd be fine with that. So but yeah, I don't have a lot else to say other than we have to try to get some of these people now who voted against Trump, we have to get them on our team. We have the makings of a coalition that could last for some time, that no longer is broken down strictly by race, that, oh, the color of my skin is this, therefore I got to vote for that guy. That, look, we don't care here in the new Republican Party. I don't know we cared in the old Republican Party. What color your skin is. We don't care. We want to try to make the people that work for a living in this country, we want to help them out for a change. The party of the rich, the party of the professional class, that's them. They're the Democrats. They're the ones that go, follow the science. Follow the science. These are the ones that said, hey, let's wear a mask because masks will stop this pandemic. And of course, that wasn't true. These are the ones that said, take this vaccine. This will save lives. And I don't think that was true. It was, common sense out the window because we got to follow the science. Our science, of course. If you over here, the Republicans, we got scientists too, and we're saying, I think your science is bullshit. No, that's misinformation. Only our science counts. Only our science counts. Your science, shut up. So I think we can get some of these people. Now, some people you're never going to get them just because they don't follow the news and they simply hate Trump. I can think of one prominently in my inner circle that it doesn't matter what you say to this person. They will never vote for anyone associated with Donald Trump because they hate Donald Trump, period. And you're never going to get them off that. But I think there are others that are willing to look at what's happening and say, well, yeah, this isn't so bad. And Trump has to figure out a way to get more people on the team. In other words, we barely won the House of Representatives. We don't have a hell of a lot of mandate in the Congress to do much anything other than not impeach Donald Trump. That's what we got there. But yeah, I'm worn out on politics right now. I really am. Just burned out on it. I think both sides are just kind of taking a step back. Really what's been driving me for the past 18 months has been this lawfare. And I keep coming back to that. We dodged a bullet literally in this country that had Donald Trump been shot on the 13th of August, had he been killed, this country would have fallen into tyranny, hard tyranny. I'm certain of that. I laid that out for you. The party would have split. It was before he announced Vance as his second in command. And even if it had been, before JD had kind of proven himself to the MAGA team would have split apart. Half of them would have stayed home. Kamala Harris would have won a huge landslide, and we'd be looking in the face at real Soviet type stuff. That we've seen it, we've tasted it. People from our team have been ruined, have been put in jail. It's happened already. And that was just the forefront of it. Given a mandate, a sweeping electoral mandate, there would have been nothing to stop them. They would have packed the Supreme Court. It would have been ugly. So let's not squander this, whatever you want to call it, divine gift, luck, a moment that we have earned by seeing what's going on and stepping out and saying, no, stop this madness. Common sense last Tuesday won the day. Let's not squander it. So I got no interest in beating up Democrat voters, the hardcore people, the ones that are willfully ignorant or purposely out there running around lying. I got no use for you. But the one that sits there and just listens to CNN all day and thinks that Donald Trump's a monster, maybe there's hope for that person. Maybe that they'll, in the next several, we got what? What's 4 times 12? 48. In the next 48 months, maybe we can bring some of them around to say, hey, it's not the end of the world here, the way Trump wants to do. He basically just wants to rebuild this country. This free trade argument is an argument to be had. We can't have the argument with the current Democrat leadership because they're dishonest. They're dishonest. You cannot have a substantive discussion with these dishonest people. That's why I'm hoping that there'll be some leadership in the Democrats that will emerge that is not the same old liars like, and you can run down the list, the Obamas and the freaking, and throw in these Republicans now that jump ship, the Cheneys, the Bushes, the Bidens, Pelosi, Schumer. These are all disgusting liars, and you can't talk honestly with these people. That's why I'm hoping that the Democrat voter, the rank and file Democrat voter says, we want some new people in charge. We don't like the way this is going. Get me some new leadership that we can talk to. There's an argument to be had here on free trade. That's where Donald Trump's at. He's saying, look, this is going way too far in the direction of free trade. We've shipped out every last industry in this country just because they make it a nickel cheaper over there. Yeah, our price is cheaper? Probably. But my neighbor doesn't have a job. My cousin just got a job. He's out of work for 9 months. 6 months. I think it was 6 months. I just found that out today. He was out of work for the last 6 months. So I'll pay a little more if that thing is made here and my neighbor has a job. That's a win for me. That's a win for me because sooner or later, you're going to jack my taxes up through the roof so I can pay for him to eat. This country's not going to let my neighbor starve. This is a welfare country. We're not just going to let people starve. So people that have jobs, that have money in the bank, we're going to pay through the nose so those people that don't have jobs can eat. It would be much easier if they had a job. So, yeah, I'll pay a little more to have stuff made in this country. There's another argument to that on the free trade. I think that neither one is good. Another all the way this way where we don't trade with anybody and we have 100% tariffs. But then on the other side, the way the globalists have been, they don't care, that everything's made somewhere else. They don't care. They don't respect being an American, hence the open border. In other words, it's not special to be an American. In fact, anybody can be an American. They just got to cross over the river. Just jump across the river and they're in. Let's honestly argue these issues. Can we do that? Can that be done? But not with the current Democrat leadership. None of the people elected to office under the heading of Democrat are honest people. I'm certain of that after this last 2 years of election cycle. None of them are honest. So, I don't know. It's going to be a while, I think. You see some of them, you see hints of honesty. I'll throw out Fetterman's name. I think that he sees a slot there for himself where it's like, you know what? If I just be a little more honest with people, I can be the senator from Pennsylvania forever. And he's probably right. But if he insists on being a lying scumbag progressive Democrat, that's in jeopardy. Because sooner or later, we're going to say, no, that's not true what you just said. You're not telling me the truth. So, I don't know. It's going to be a long haul. Probably won't be many videos in the coming months. I mean, there's really not that much to talk about. It's, I don't know if the lawfare is over. I don't know if they're going to try. I didn't finish that point, I think. I started to make the point and then wandered off into the corner or something. I don't think they're going to try anything because it's basically been, it's too overwhelming and they're going to look like idiots. They'll look like fools. What they'll do is, as soon as Donald Trump deports the first illegal immigrant, then they're going to be calling for mass demonstrations. They'll be calling for his impeachment. They'll be calling for commissions. They'll be calling for criminal indictment. They'll probably try it in some states, in that they've had some luck, I guess, doing action in the states themselves. And I could see that happening. In other words, this has already happened, that the new immigration man, I guess a man named Holman, which I don't know much about him, but he's saying the right things, that, hey, we're gonna deport these people. And you states, you cities that refuse to enforce the law, we're coming in there. And we're going to get these people and we're moving them out. I could see some of these Democrat governors wanting to be the man that stands up to Donald Trump. And I could see trouble there. I really could see some trouble there. Now, I don't know how they're going to do it exactly because, for the most part, the cops in these cities are for Trump. So, they're not going to have their local police departments aren't going to stand up to the ICE people. They'll get somebody that'll do it, and, that could be ugly. But Trump has the people in his corner. We just have to stay with him. In other words, when the first immigrant gets shot, and it'll happen, it'll be a false flag, I would imagine, where somebody on their team will execute an immigrant and blame Trump, and then they'll be screaming and calling for crimes and trying to get him put in jail again. You just got to stay with it because those people have broken the law, and we're tired of it. We want them out. We want them to go back. We don't want to hurt them, but you don't belong here. So, back to the law and the taxes. If I just sit there and refuse to pay my taxes, sooner or later somebody comes with a gun and says, you're going to pay, or you're going to sit in this box, this cage, and you'll stay in the cage until you either pay your taxes or you've been sufficiently punished such that you'll pay them the next time. We never do that to the illegals, ever. So maybe it's time we actually enforce the law. And that's the way this is heading. So that's where I would probably see the first shot, metaphorically speaking, being fired, that these sanctuary cities, somebody will try to stand up to the feds as they're in there moving out the illegals. And yeah, I could see some trouble happening there. We're in the right, they're wrong. I don't know how you sit there and justify, hey, we want to protect the lawbreakers. We want to protect the criminals. They've broken the law. Now, you have to have due process, obviously. You can't just round up everybody and say, okay, you look like you're illegal, so you're out. And I'm certain that will happen. This is America. We're Republicans. We're rule followers. So, we're not just going to throw everybody out. That's what they want you to believe. Again, they're lying. But, okay, that's all I have for you. So, hey, I get to speak freely now for 4 years. I don't have to worry. I mean, YouTube will probably yank down videos at some point. They've already made noise like, misinformation, misinformation, we got to do something. Well, I'll just make the videos and put it on X then. We're pretty sure we'll be safe there. So if YouTube starts yanking down my videos again, I've already had 2 pulled down here in the past 4 years. So if they do that again, well, we'll just go over, I'm already at Rumble, and we'll put them on X. X has, I think, more of a reach than Rumble. That's how that'll go. But hey, I believe in free speech. A lot of you do too, because we won. That must be true. A lot of people like free speech. Ergo, Donald Trump is the president-elect. Let's just say that again. Donald Trump is the president-elect. Donald Trump is the president-elect. Boy, we dodged a bullet. Thanks to everybody who came out and did work, who voted for Trump. Thanks to all of you. It's been a good week. It's been a good week. Let's make it a good 4 years upcoming. I'm Eric Arnold.